On Christmas Eve 2002, in the quiet suburb of Modesto, California, a 27-year-old woman named Laci Peterson was 8 months pregnant with her first child, a son she and her husband Scott had already named Connor. By every measure, her life looked perfect. A beautiful home, a devoted family who adored her, a husband who posted photos of them smiling together. But that Christmas Eve, Laci Peterson walked out of her front door and was never seen alive again. And the man who was supposed to love her most, the man who had been calling his pregnant wife his entire world, had already told another woman that his wife was dead. He told her he was single. He wined and dined her. He took her to black tie events. He told her he loved her. And then, in a recorded phone call that investigators would later play in a packed courtroom, he told her that he had lost his wife, that he would be spending his first Christmas alone. At the time of that call, Laci Peterson was still alive, still decorating their home, still carrying their son. Amber Frey saw Laci's face on the news and called police the very same day. She then did something that sealed Scott Peterson's fate forever. She agreed to keep talking to him and let police record every single word. Giamian Eva, GAC. GAKA, GACC. Berkeley Marina, on a solo fishing trip at Berkeley Marina, 90 miles from their home, a fishing trip in a small aluminum boat his family never even knew. When he returned home, he said, Laci was simply gone. In the weeks that followed, Scott Peterson did something extraordinary. He went on national television and begged for his wife's safe return. He stood at press conferences with her family. He cried. He searched. He performed grief for the cameras with the practiced ease of a man who had been preparing for this moment. Meanwhile, investigators noticed something. He never asked them how the search was going. He never fired questions at detectives the way desperate husbands do. He just smiled and waited. And waited. Biafi, Dows and I Roser, My C. On April 13, 2003, 4 months after Laci disappeared, the remains of a fetus washed ashore in San Francisco Bay. The next day, the decomposed remains of a woman were found a mile away. DNA confirmed what investigators had feared. It was Laci. It was Connor. They had been found just miles from where Scott Peterson said he went fishing on Christmas Eve. When police moved to arrest Scott Peterson 4 days later, they found him at a golf course in San Diego. He had bleached his hair blonde. He was carrying $15,000 in cash. He had his brother's ID. He had multiple cell phones. The California Supreme Court would later describe what happened next as one of the most closely watched murder trials in American history. Amber Frey took the stand, and the jury heard recordings of Scott Peterson, a man whose pregnant wife was missing, telling his girlfriend he loved her and couldn't wait to see her again. Yay. On November 12, 2004, the jury found Scott Peterson guilty of first-degree murder for the death of Laci and second-degree murder for the death of their unborn son, Connor. There was no crime scene, no murder weapon, no witnesses, just a man whose lies unraveled one recorded phone call at a time. He was sentenced to death, a sentence later overturned on a technicality. He now sits in prison serving life without parole, maintaining his innocence to this day. In 2024, the Los Angeles Innocence Project announced they are representing Scott Peterson, claiming new evidence supports his claim of innocence. Laci's family says they believe justice was already served. 2 bodies found in the same bay where Scott went fishing. A mistress he had already told he was a widower. A nursery he had quietly converted to a storage room before his wife's body was even found. You decide what that means. Laci Peterson was 27 years old. Connor was never born. Remember their names. Sleep well if you can.